200 years ago, the seaside holiday we take for granted was still being invented. In places like Ilfrcombe, they faced some formidable challenges, not least just getting to the beach. High cliffs stand all around the sheltered coves. So in the 1820s, they looked across the Severn Sea for a solution. They brought in the real experts to break through the cliffs. Miners from South Wales. I'm going to follow in the footsteps of those miners to explore how the Victorians learnt to love to be beside the sea. My guide is outdoor swimmer Kate Rue.
Now, I'm amazed at this. This seems like an awful lot of trouble to go to for a swim, to actually dig a tunnel through a rock.
It's amazing what people do to get to a nice beach.
Look at that. That's where it's been cut. That's maybe where they've drilled for blasting. And all so that they could get to a beach for a swim.
Some of us are very desperate to get into the water.
Capitalising on the newfangled fashion for taking a dip, the Ilfrcombe Sea Bathing Company's Welsh miners dug 4 tunnels through solid rock, wide enough to take a horse and carriage.
They swam from bathing machines, they were called, wooden huts on wheels that would be horse-drawn all the way through these tunnels,
right.
And 3 foot into the water where the ladies would elegantly step out.
Bathing machines were portable changing rooms for preserving a lady's modesty in this novel environment. Once in the water, the novice bathers had to learn how to behave. The whole experience was stage managed. At Ilfrcombe, they held back the rough seas by fencing off tidal pools. Walls were built to hold in calm water. Early bathers still needed some encouragement, and with the prospect of a swim here myself, I know how they felt.
Looking forward to your dip?
Let's talk about that later.
Well, I've got an album here that I'd like to show you of someone who was here at all times during Victorian times to encourage people, probably maybe people like you, to go swimming.
It's not the kind of figure I expected.
This is Professor Harry Parker,
right.
Who was quite a figure around here.
Certainly was, that's quite a figure.
With his top hat and his comedy nose.
Yeah.
And he is one of England's greatest natatorial artistes.
Easy for you to say.
Absolutely, and he would teach any good people on the beach diving and fancy swimming tricks, like lighting a cigar while swimming and drinking a glass of champagne. This kind of comedy action showed how happy people could be in the water.
Was it a family affair?
Very much not, actually. Even though the Victorians were very family-orientated, their beaches were strictly segregated. So we're sitting here on, this is the men's beach, so men only. The women would be taken through the headland to the other side, and a bugler would sit on the rocks in between, and if any man dared swim out of the area enough to actually catch sight of the women, a horn would be blown loudly.
Wow.
They would be ejected. There are newspaper reports saying that, you know, if the men were named that had committed this crime, they would be thrown out of civilised society. I mean, it was very strict.
Not only were they confined to separate beaches, there was a strict dress code too, and quite a double standard for men and women.
The Victorian lady had to be very properly dressed when she went into the water, and these are the kinds of things that they wore.
Very nice.
So you needed a good pair of pantaloons,
Nice.
low the knee, obviously, to preserve her modesty, and then a kind of dress or smock over the top.
Right.
And these were apparently sometimes weighted down with lead pellets around the hem to stop them floating up.
Lead is what you want on a swimming costume in the open sea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Half a pound of lead shot.
It'd be like swimming in a sort of Hessian sack, I think, by the time it's wet.
And what about me? What do I get?
You delightfully get to swim in the Buff.
Oh, come on. I wanted a duffel coat, Wellington boots, and a hat.
She's not joking. Away from the ladies, hidden behind the headland on their own beach, those Victorian gents were a lot less buttoned up than you might imagine. It wasn't uncommon for the men to swim in the nude, even if the women on the beach next door were covered up. Swimming in the Buff, I thought Victorian gentlemen had more decorum. Where's Queen Victoria when you need her? That's what I want to know. The tidal pool is still used today. The water is calmer and warmer than the sea around it. It's still a bit chilly all the same.
Watch out, you might get arrested.
I can definitely hear a bugler.